and beachgoers really had to keep their eyes open this weekend.
Especially on Long Island, where 5 shark attacks were reported over the 4th of July weekend alone. That's almost as many as all of last year. Now, they were off Fire Island, Robert Moses State Park, and Quag Village Beach.
Lifeguards had to clear the water at Robert Moses one morning last week because there was a school of sand sharks spotted churning in the water. So what is going on?
Well, for that, we are joined by Professor Yannis Papastamatiou. He's a marine biologist at Florida International University. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's good.
Okay, welcome, Professor. Good to see you. Let's talk about this, right? So do we know, I guess, why there's this sudden outbreak of shark attacks and sightings, specifically in the New York area, right?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. And first of all, it's very hard when you're trying to look at shark attacks to see are we actually seeing a generally increase in the number of shark bites? Obviously, we have an average number each year. Sometimes we have higher than that. Sometimes we have lower than that. So that could just be sort of random fluctuation. So before we can say there's actually been an increase, we have to really sort of be measuring that trend over multiple years, which is, again, very hard to do.
Yeah, well, so the records kept by the International Shark Attack File say that there were only a total of 12 shark attacks in New York State in 160 years. So from 1860 to 2021, there's only been that many. That doesn't seem like it can be right. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. And again, you can have an unlucky year. You can have an event that could bring large numbers of sharks. Now, there are a few other things to consider. First of all, we are seeing some evidence of shark populations starting to rebound, being historically overfished. Their numbers are perhaps starting to come back up because, again, shark fisheries in the US are quite well regulated. So we may be seeing a slight increase in the number of sharks. It may also be related to the fact that, ocean water temperatures are getting higher. And so that means that potentially some shark species that wouldn't go that far north are now extending their range. So it may not be that this may not be directly relevant to what we're seeing right here, but just something that could potentially be, coming up in the future as the ocean water temperatures continue to warm.
Right, and I mean, I had gone out with these shark trackers, this group a couple summers ago, where they tag sharks, right? And then that became this whole thing because you were able to follow those sharks and you know that they're in the area because now they've been tagged. So it's this awareness now, besides actually seeing them in the water, you know they're there because you can log on and see where they are, right? So does that kind of play into this whole thing of these trackers now kind of impacting how we view what's in our area?
Well, they do, because obviously we are, as you said, we're getting much better at just sort of knowing that sharks are there. If you think, for example, the invention and the use of drones, we didn't have that 10 years ago. So you would have had sharks off the coast and you just didn't know they were there. Right. Now a lot of people have drones and we can see them. So some of that is also going to be somewhat artificial in that it's not necessarily that there's an increase in shark numbers. It's just that we are much better at seeing that they're there.
So we hear that sharks, though, don't typically want to attack people. That they actually mistake us for, I guess, other prey. Is that true?
Yeah. So again, if you think of it from a numbers standpoint, yes. So 5 seems like a lot of bites in a short period of time, and it is. But if you think of it from the standpoint of how many people are in the water, how many sharks are in the water, and how few bites you get, and you really crunch the numbers, and you see the chance of getting bitten by a shark is very, very low. We have sharks in these waters all along the coast of the US. People like to go in the water. We have obviously very, very large numbers of people in the water. And we very, very rarely get any bites. And I think what also these drones are revealing is you're getting all these videos of sharks being around beaches and humans being close to these sharks in the water. And what happens? Often nothing. So that is the main outcome of an interaction between a shark and a human is nothing. So obviously we rarely get these negative interactions, but for the vast majority of times, nothing will happen. And that's just because, again, for the most part, they're really not that interested in us.
Well, yeah,
that's good to know.
That is good to know, right? And I've always said that if you swam on the oceans along Jersey Shore, Long Island, whatever, you've swam with sharks. But yeah, now we're seeing them, like you said, with those drones. But you've done over 1,000 dives with sharks, right? For those who are at the beach, and I know you were saying they don't attack, but when you hear 5 bites, it's like super alarming for those folks, right? So what is something that somebody can notice if you're in the water and you see a sand shark versus of a great white? What are you looking at when you see the sharks that are up on the shores?
Yeah, and I understand that, again, throwing out statistics, if you're scared of sharks, that's not going to suddenly make you feel better. So I think the main thing is that regardless, is that if you're going in the ocean, you be vigilant, because obviously the ocean isn't a swimming pool.
Like what is it that we're looking at right here? Like what was that group? Was that sand sharks?
Those ones I can't tell. I'm not sure exactly what species those are. They're in a school, and I can pretty much tell you that that is not an aggressive species of shark.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you couldn't perhaps get bitten by accident, but those are not a species that are going to be in any way targeting humans. And again, even with the species that you may consider could target human, like white sharks, which obviously do occasionally bite humans. The chance of them biting you is still pretty low. Now, again, my recommendation is if you see a shark in the water, then just to be safe, unless you're diving and want to spend time with it, is you get out of the water. And that's why I suggest everybody be vigilant, because again, it's mostly a case of being aware. How close are you to your exit point? Have you gotten caught in a current? Are you with a group? Has somebody on the beach seen a shark? And again, that's just treating the ocean with the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
And again, I think you're more likely to drown, obviously, in the ocean than you are to get bitten by a shark. So you have to also just take that approach no matter what you do.
Yeah, well, I'm getting out of the water if I see it.
I mean,
That's
that will take the chance of getting bitten to zero. So.
Well, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much. I feel brilliant. Professor Yannis Papastamatiou, I really appreciate you coming in. Oh, we appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.